One of the most nominated and awarded miniseries this season is Escape at Dannemora. And I'm here with Eric Lange, who plays Lyle on the show, the husband to Patricia Arquette's character. Now, Eric, you put on 40 pounds for the role. Is gaining weight for a part something that you had done before?
No, no, not that I wouldn't have if someone offered me the opportunity, because it feels like something that would be enjoyable for a while to eat a way that you wouldn't eat otherwise, and not really worry about any of it. But I will say, after the first couple of weeks, it does begin to change. Your belt, the tightness of your clothes, the way you walk, the way you sweat, how you breathe. Which is why I guess I felt it was important to do. Ben suggested it because I was pretty lean when we started. And I think it was important to do because it did change all of that for me and added a sort of organic nature to the character. But in terms of your health, no, it's a horrible idea. And I'm not recommending it to anyone.
And was that part of you getting the job? Like he says, you can have it if you gain all this weight and lose it very quickly.
No, we already had it, and they had gone up to northern New York to do some scouting, and he called and just said, you're a little lean, I'm thinking, as we're up here and talking to people, and so would you put on like 10 or 15 pounds? And so I did that relatively quickly, and that didn't really look like much on me. I'm tall, I'm 5'11", 6 foot, and I'm kind of a slender frame by nature, so the 10 or 15 pounds didn't really look that much, didn't have that much of an effect. So we sort of kept going, and I guess it was about a month into production we had sort of peaked. I started at 175, I ended up at about 212, and then we hung there for the duration of the shoot, which is about another 7 months or so. And then Ben had this idea to stop production for about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and have Patricia and I lose all the weight we could before we shot the flashback episode, which is episode 6, which goes back about 20 years in time. So that's what we did. And in the middle of that time off, my son came earlier than expected, so we got a little more time to lose a little more weight. But we both ended up losing another 30 or 35 pounds during that period, which was nice to have a deadline to do it by. If I didn't have that, it might have taken me a long time. But so then that's what's kind of amazing about it is you have 6 episodes. It's a total of 7 episodes. You have 6 episodes where I'm basically 212 pounds, and then you have 1 episode in the middle of it where I was about 175, 180 again. So that was just a lot of physical fun that you don't normally have the opportunity to do. Again, terribly unhealthy, but yeah.
We hosted a bunch of production designers, including yours, at a Gold Derby event last night, and he was talking about how when he started on the project, he had all the scripts except for one. I'm wondering, was that the case for you, and was that the flashback episode?
Mark Ricker's brilliant, by the way. I'm a huge fan of his. What he did with that show and the look of the show added so much realism to it, and just there was no acting required on all of his sets. He did a gorgeous job. But yeah, I did have all the scripts. I don't remember which one we didn't have. It might have been the flashback. But that was lovely to have all the scripts like a month in advance. They were incredibly well prepared in that way. I had the show Bible in addition to all that stuff, and it really helps you wrap your head around what you're about to do, especially because we block shot the thing, which is basically, on day 1 we would do episode 1, 2, and 7, and on day 2 you do 3, 5, and 4. It was just every day you were doing all 8 episodes. We also had 2 seasons that we shot across. So we shot a summer stint upstate New York, and then we came back and we shot a winter stint there. So there's scenes where we're inside in the summer, and when you walk out the door, it cuts to the winter shoot. So collaboration on scripts and continuity and where were we, what were we, when was incredibly important on this show, and they did a phenomenal job with it.
I think you and the other actors have talked about how Ben Stiller, he's an actor normally, so that really makes a difference when it comes to his directing. Can you give any specific examples about how that affects things?
I think as an actor, and an actor with good taste, and an actor who's incredibly sort of perfectionist bent, he really, his eye is he's got great taste about everything, and you can just talk to another actor, and that actor has a better sense maybe of tricks you'll use or techniques you'll use to get somewhere versus being somewhere organically and honestly. And I guess you would call one of those things sort of being in the pocket, being in the zone of something, and one of them maybe pushing. And there was always sort of a danger, a fear of mine of turning Lyle into a caricature. It's a very fine line with a guy like that who's got an eccentric speech pattern, an eccentric look, sort of a childlike view of the world. Sometimes it can run off the rails real quick. And my trust and my faith from the beginning that wouldn't happen was because of Ben. Because I just really trust his eye. I think it's finely tuned, and he would I would walk up to him basically more often than not and say, is this off the rails? And he would say, no, we're good. Stop worrying about it. Stop, don't worry about looking at yourself from the outside. I've got you, and that was a tremendous relief for me to just know I can trust that. So he helped a lot in that way.
Now, this miniseries has gotten a lot of accolades and acclaim for its acting, but it's not really a surprise when you have, Oscar winners Patricia Arquette, Benicio del Toro. You've got Emmy nominee David Morris and Golden Globe nominee Paul Dano. But you are also in the main cast, and I feel like you're kind of more of the breakthrough. How did they know that they should be casting you? Like, why did they feel that you would be right for this role?
I guess it took me as much convincing to convince myself that I was right for this role, because he was really far from me. And that's sort of what the process of leading up to the audition was for me, was as much convincing myself that I could pull this off as it was convincing them. I knew when I read the breakdown that Ben was directing it, that Benicio and Patricia were in it, that I'd be opposite Patricia 99% of the time, Paul Dano. And so I recognized the opportunity that it was for someone like me. I've been working, I've been in LA for 24 years. I've been working a very, very long time here, thankfully. But, most of the stuff I've done doesn't get, Emmy recognition or Golden Globe recognition necessarily. It's work, and you continue your path in that way. And I knew this was an opportunity to be in something that might be a little more visible, that might be a little more in a spotlight or a little more high profile. So to that end, I did exactly what I knew to do, which was to give Ben a piece of tape that would alleviate any sort of doubts or worries as much as possible. I went to a makeup supply store and I bought some fake teeth that I put in. I had a wig laying around the house from another production that I put on. I got the voice down as best I could, and one night until like 3 o'clock in the morning, I just shot all these scenes with all of these accoutrements on, and at many a moment I was going, man, is this crazy? Am I just really trying way too hard for this here? But the other part of me I thought Ben would respect it, and anyone who watched it would respect the lengths I went to, because this guy isn't just like anybody else. And there's a lot of artifice that's required to sort of bridge from me to him. And so that's what I started in my kitchen. And then the hair and makeup team on set, once I got the job, took over with, and Art Sakamoto, who built my gorgeously horrible teeth, the wig that was perfected on set, and they replaced my eyebrows, the 40 pounds of fat, all of it eventually added up to the Lyle that everybody got to see. But it did start in my kitchen late at night with some Austin Powers teeth and a really bad wig. And I'm glad he bought it. You know, I sold it as best I could. So I guess it worked.
Now, you've already been nominated for a Critics' Choice Award for your performance for Best Supporting Actor in a Limited Series or a Movie. How did you find out about that nomination?
It's funny. I wasn't paying any attention, really, I guess. I never sort of expect to be nominated for anything. I work as hard as I do on everything. So rewards or awards or anything like that always seems sort of like they'd be sort of out of the blue. And that's kind of what happened that morning. Our kids, we have two young kids, and they were both sick that night. And we were up, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just checking Twitter on a break from changing diapers or whatever I was doing. And I just saw that there was the Critics' Choice nominations were out, and I thought, oh, cool, maybe the show got another nomination. And I said, oh, the show got a nomination, and oh, Patricia got a nomination, Paul got a nomination, you know, and then I saw my name, and I don't know, it was like the weirdest experience to. I just had no connection that meant I was on the list of those awards. I felt like it was a runner-up category or something, and they had a special mention or something. And when I connected the dots and realized I had been nominated, we all just started jumping around in the bedroom, even though everybody was sick. It was a really kind of a beautiful little moment. I was just shocked. I was so honored and shocked, and I still am. I still can't believe that happened. I'm really grateful. Yeah.
You mentioned that you've been working for 24 years, and just going through your IMDb credits, like you do have all those credits going back. I feel like there's a shift maybe around when you got Lost, when you before that you'd been doing tons of single episode roles, and then after that you moved on to more substantial stuff. Can you talk a bit about kind of navigating Hollywood for that long on that trajectory?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's very astute of you. It is true. I was doing, guest stars regularly, but some of them were one-day guest stars. Some of them were just, a couple scenes, and I was just happy to be working and happy to be making a living as an actor. But Lost happened, and we did that all in Hawaii, and I was only supposed to do like 2 episodes. And they liked what I was doing, and so it ended up being like 7, and I ended up being kind of a big villain that season. And we did it all in Hawaii, and they said, when you go back home, things will be different for you. And I didn't believe them at all, because again, I've done this for so long, but I just never expect anything else other than the work, which is its own gift, right? So I got home, and sure enough, like day 1, I had 3 people walk up to me on the street, and that started a sort of a little shift, I guess, in my credibility or my stock in the business, or that's how you say it. So then after that, maybe there was a level shift, and I got to do more things that were recurring, bigger jobs. The Bridge. I did 11 out of the 13 episodes of that. I had a nice recurring arc on Weeds. This crazy teeny bopper show called Victorious that I was doing at the same time as Lost was around that time. So yeah, I guess there was more recurring things, and then pilots would follow, and then, series that were actually on the air, like Narcos. Gosh, I'm losing track of some of it now. But yeah, there's been a nice steady incline, I guess. And Lost was a really nice kickstart of all that. So yeah, I just try to do a little better than I did the year before, and I guess for the last little while that's been happening. So I'm grateful.
It's funny you mentioned that you were kind of the big bad of that season, and you kind of were, but they never got a chance to kill you off since they couldn't.
Yeah, he killed himself off later on, I guess, or yeah. So that was just a phenomenal opportunity. I was such a fan of that show anyway, and so to get to go there just felt like I had won a contest from a radio station or something. Like go to the set of Lost. You know, I couldn't believe I was getting to do that. That was a highlight of my career, one of them for sure. Yeah.
And what do you have coming up next?
Let's see. I'll be on the Man on the High Castle the next season. They have coming out. I have another limited series for Netflix that'll be coming out with Toni Collette and Merritt Wever. And then I just finished a movie for Lionsgate with Janelle Monáe that I can say next to nothing about.
Does it have a title yet?
It doesn't have a title. They'll let me speak.
Okay.
You know, it's like the Marvel movies. I might come home and find something in my mailbox if I say the wrong thing. I'm terrified. And then I've also started just this week a pilot that again is shrouded in the secrecy. So you know, I haven't wet your whistle very much, I'm sorry to say, but there is more of me coming out. It's just I can't talk about much of any of it.
All right. Well, thanks very much for talking about what you did, Eric. And
thank you.
I'm Riley of Gold Derby, and you can log on to our website to log your Emmy predictions, and also we encourage you to subscribe to our channel for other chats with Emmy contenders.